Okay, picture this. You're sitting at home watching NFL Twitter implode in real time, and suddenly boom, Shatter Sanders just ghosted the Cleveland Browns. No warning, no press conference, just gone. 1 minute he's the future of the franchise, the next he's wiping the Browns logo off his social media like it was a bad tattoo. And the internet? Fully melting down. Sports media? Spiraling. The Cleveland Browns? Absolutely scrambling like someone hit the fire alarm mid-meeting.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
What started as a quiet tension inside the franchise turned into a full-blown organizational earthquake. And at the center of it, a calm, camera-ready, and weirdly composed Shatter Sanders, quarterback, influencer, and apparently now, full-time chaos curator. Because, make no mistake, this wasn't a tantrum. This was a chess move. A power play with the precision of a marketing campaign and the timing of a mic drop. And Cleveland? They never even saw it coming. Let's rewind for a second. The Browns had been riding high, or as high as Cleveland ever gets, after landing Shatter Sanders. The son of Dillon primetime Sanders, college standout, and media darling. He was supposed to be the fresh start. The golden boy. The quarterback who was finally going to break the Browns' decades-long curse of being. Well, the Browns. And at first, it looked promising. Training camps were buzzing, fans were cautiously optimistic, and the team even launched a whole marketing campaign around him. Billboards, interviews, TikToks. You name it. Shatter was doing all the right things. Press-friendly, poised, and a social media savant. But behind that polished exterior, cracks were forming. And if you blinked, you probably missed the early red flags. First came the whispers, unconfirmed reports of creative differences with the coaching staff. Vague comments about the offensive scheme not fitting his strengths. Then a few cryptic Instagram stories, just enough to stir speculation without giving away the plot. And let's be real, in this era, a cryptic IG story is a press release. Still, Browns leadership insisted everything was fine. Coach Kevin Stefanski? Giving classic non-answers. Owner Jimmy Haslam? Silent. And the media? Too busy counting jersey sales to dig deeper. But behind closed doors, something was boiling. Tensions between Sanders and the front office reportedly reached a breaking point after a closed-door meeting turned ugly. Nobody knows exactly what was said, but what followed was unmistakable. Shatter stopped showing up. No calls. No practices. No statements. Just poof. And the silence? Deafening. Cue the media inferno. Sports talk shows went full tabloid. Was it a contract dispute? A clash of egos? Did the Browns try to rein him in and get hit with a branding tsunami instead? Nobody had answers, but everyone had theories. And Shatter? He let it all burn. Every skipped practice became a headline. Every ignored text from the team leaked to the press, added fuel to the fire. And still, he said nothing. Just the occasional story. A photo in a new city. A vague quote reposted from his dad. A black and white selfie with a lion emoji. Subtle? No. Effective? Absolutely. And just when you thought the Browns would spin this as mutual separation, or try to brush it under the rug as taking time to reflect, they fumbled harder than ever. A rushed press conference. Stefanski looking like he hadn't slept in 3 days. Haslam reading from a prepared statement that felt more like a corporate apology than a football update. The words? We respect Shatter's decision. The vibe? Full-on panic. Because the Browns didn't just lose a quarterback, they lost control. Of the narrative. Of their brand. Of their locker room. Suddenly, players were unfollowing the team account. Local reporters were publishing long-form exposés. Fans were divided between rage and resignation. And through it all, Shatter was out here doing charity events, podcast appearances, and red carpet interviews, unbothered, eloquent, and camera-ready. Honestly, it was almost annoying how smooth he made it look. And let's not forget the prime effect. Enter Deion Sanders. A walking soundbite, a legend in his own right, and now the ultimate hype man for his son's liberation arc. He didn't just defend Shatter, he elevated him, called it a necessary move, and framed it as part of a bigger vision. We're not waiting around for people to catch up. We lead. That was his message. And the media ate it up. Suddenly, this wasn't just a team dispute, it was a culture war. A generational standoff. The old-school model of quarterback loyalty and quiet professionalism clashing headfirst with a new era of player empowerment, social media strategy, and high-level brand management. And that's when things got really surreal. Multiple NFL teams reportedly reached out behind the scenes. Anonymous execs were impressed with his composure. Jersey resellers started jacking up prices. ESPN ran a whole segment on quarterback as brand. All while the Browns' social team was getting roasted for still having him in their banner photo 3 days post-walkout. It was becoming painfully clear Shatter hadn't just left Cleveland. He'd outgrown it. And the franchise, once hopeful for a redemption arc, was now the punchline of yet another sports saga gone sideways. What made it worse? Sanders never lost his cool. Every time a mic was in front of him, he was calm, thoughtful, polished, and somehow a little smug, like he knew the story was bigger than football, and he was already on to Act 2. He didn't trash the Browns. He didn't throw teammates under the bus. He just let the silence speak for him. And let's be honest, silence in the NFL is louder than any touchdown celebration. The Browns, on the other hand, couldn't stop talking. Vague apologies, leaks from inside sources, attempts to reframe the walkout as a miscommunication. But the damage was done. Fans were booing ownership. Locker room morale hit the floor. And the press? Already writing obituaries for Stefanski's leadership credibility. So what now? Well, depending on who you ask, this might be the start of something massive. Because this wasn't just one player throwing a fit. It was a young, high-profile quarterback rejecting the script, saying no thanks to the traditional franchise-first mindset and going full player-first mode, using silence, branding, and selective media engagement to shift the power dynamic entirely. And yeah, maybe it's a little theatrical, maybe it's calculated, but in a league where teams cut players via text and fans burn jerseys over missed passes, can you really blame him for playing the game his way? There's something kind of poetic about it. The Browns tried to mold Shatter into their savior, and he turned around and said, "Actually, I'm building my own empire." And if the rumors are true, he won't be teamless for long. But Cleveland? They've got a mess to clean up. Fast. So, let's hand out a few fake awards while we're here. Biggest PR fumble? Goes to the Browns front office, who clearly thought they could outmaneuver Sanders. Rookie mistake. Best supporting actor in a sports drama? Deion Sanders. For turning a walkout into a revolution and giving one-liners that deserve their own 30 for 30. Most likely to succeed in a post-NFL media career? Shatter, obviously. At this rate, he'll have a docuseries before his next snap. And you know what? Maybe this is a turning point. Not just for Shatter, but for the league. Because this saga pulled the curtain back on how much the NFL relies on the illusion of control. On keeping players in line, media on script, and fans distracted with highlight reels. But now, players are telling their own stories, on their own time, in their own voice. And if a league doesn't adapt, expect more exits, more drama, and more franchises scrambling to stay relevant in an era where the quarterback might be calling the shots from outside the locker room. So yeah, Dillon's losing it. Cleveland's spiraling. And Shatter? He's just getting started. Drop your wildest trade predictions in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more NFL chaos. And remember, sometimes the real game isn't played on the field. It's played online. Browns were trying to contain the fire. Shatter lit another match. Word started circulating. He was spotted training in Miami, then Atlanta, then Vegas. Each appearance sending fan bases into frenzies and sports reporters into existential spirals. Is he meeting with teams? Is this just a flex? Why is he wearing a Falcons hat? Every move he made became content, not news, content. And that, my friend, is the difference between playing the game and owning it. Let's be real. This is no longer about football. It's about leverage. It's about optics. It's about how a 20-something quarterback just turned the most controlling sports machine in America into background noise for his own narrative. While the league was waiting for a statement, Shatter dropped a YouTube vlog. While fans begged for answers, he posted a photo with the caption, "God's plan." That's it. No context. But it trended anyway. Because when the Browns fumbled the story, Shatter picked it up and ran with it. Meanwhile, Cleveland's locker room reportedly turned icy. Veterans confused. Young players whispering. Morale? Lower than preseason ticket sales. And ownership? Still clinging to PR-approved language like restructuring and team-first culture, like any of that means anything in the face of a public quarterback divorce playing out in real time. And then came the real twist, the Cleveland counter-narrative. You knew it was coming. Leaks started appearing in local media. Concerns about Shatter's commitment. Privately, coaches say he was difficult to manage. You know the drill. The classic NFL damage control playbook cast the player as immature, entitled, or not ready for the moment. But this time, it didn't land. Not even close. Because Shatter didn't just walk out. He left receipts. He wasn't the guy caught partying the night before a playoff game or skipping meetings to film endorsement spots. This wasn't some Johnny football flashback. Shatter showed up, on time, prepared, and polished. He just didn't agree to be silent while the franchise fumbled his future. And now, the media wasn't buying the diva QB angle anymore. Sports analysts, who were once hesitant, were now calling him strategic. Words like trailblazer started entering the chat. Suddenly, this wasn't a meltdown, it was a movement. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but why did he leave? You're not alone. But that's the thing, we don't really know. Not yet. Because Shatter never said the words. He let the Browns say too much, while he said just enough. Just enough to stay classy. Just enough to keep the spotlight. And just enough to ensure that when the dust settles, he walks away the winner. Think about it. In a matter of weeks, he went from promising rookie to NFL's most talked about free agent without throwing a single tantrum or press conference. No deleted tweets. No drunk videos. No burner accounts. Just subtle, strategic moves that made an entire billion-dollar franchise look outdated and outplayed. It's giving chess, not checkers. It's giving LeBron in 2010 energy, but with better social media instincts. And poor Cleveland. You almost have to feel bad. Almost. Because this wasn't just a PR nightmare. It was a spiritual reckoning. The Browns have spent years desperately trying to crawl out from under their own reputation. The factory of sadness, the endless quarterback carousel, the dysfunction that's basically baked into their DNA. And just when they thought they had a savior, he dipped. And let's be clear, this isn't all on them. The NFL isn't built to handle players like Shatter Sanders. Players who come in media ready. Players with fathers who are the media. Players who know that football is only half the job. And the rest? That's branding, leverage, and visibility. It's like watching the league try to run on Windows 95 while Shatter's out here using AI to build a media empire. The Browns tried to play the old game. Keep the player quiet. Control the narrative. Spin the exit. But Shatter flipped the whole script. Now, he's the face of player empowerment. The living, breathing argument for why the old system doesn't work anymore. And if you think the other players aren't watching this unfold like a season finale, think again. You better believe locker rooms across the league are having quiet conversations right now. You see what Shatter did? You think I could do that? Because this wasn't just one guy leaving a team, it was a test case. A prototype. Proof that if you control your story, stay clean, and play the long game, you can rewrite the way athletes operate in this league. The implications? Huge. Agents are definitely taking notes. Rookies are already plotting brand strategies. And franchises? They're either going to evolve or get left behind. You can already hear the league's front offices recalculating. The old model, draft them young, lock them in, build the brand around the team, is being challenged by players who come in pre-branded, with followers, with family empires, with media literacy that makes your average PR rep look like they're playing Minesweeper. And Shatter isn't just a player. He's a product, a media machine. A walking storyline with commercial appeal. His walkout wasn't a meltdown. It was a rebrand. You know what's wild? He might have helped more players than any union meeting ever could. Not because he screamed into a mic or staged a boycott, but because he kept his cool and walked away like a CEO. And in doing so, he exposed the biggest fear of any old-school franchise: irrelevance. Cleveland thought they were the center of the story. Turns out, they were just the setting. So, where does Shatter go next? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe $2 million after endorsement deals. The frontrunners are already swirling. Teams desperate for a star, a story, or both. Cities that could handle the pressure. Teams that want the spotlight. But the truth is, it almost doesn't matter where he lands. Because he already won. He already took control. He made himself the story. And now, every team that's interested knows they're not just getting a quarterback. They're getting a movement. A brand. A business. And the Browns? Well, they'll try to move on. They'll draft someone new. They'll hold press conferences and try to scrub Shatter from the narrative. But they'll never really escape it. Because this walkout, it's not just a chapter in Browns history. It's a turning point in NFL history. A moment where everything changed. A moment where one player said, "You don't own me." So what do we take from this? Maybe it's that silence can be louder than outrage. That branding can beat brute force. That sometimes the strongest play isn't staying in fighting. It's leaving on your own terms. No mess. No scandal. Just a clean exit with the entire league watching. Or maybe it's just a reminder that football is no longer just about football. It's about narrative, optics, strategy. And in that arena, Shatter Sanders is already in the Hall of Fame. So, shout out to the Browns for handing us one of the wildest off-field storylines of the year. Shout out to Shatter for giving a masterclass in 2020's athlete power. And shout out to you for watching it all unfold like a live-action sports soap opera. So let's set the scene. Cleveland is bruised, battered, and clinging to what's left of their dignity. They've scrubbed his face from their social media. Every trace of #SandersSZN has been erased like a bad X from your camera roll. They're trying to pretend like it never happened. But the internet never forgets, and neither do the fans. And honestly, Browns Nation is split straight down the middle. One side is furious, burning jerseys and driveways, calling him a diva, saying he was never built for this city. Classic scorned lover behavior. The other side? Quietly mourning. Not just the loss of a quarterback, but the loss of hope. Because let's be real, deep down, they know he was the one. And while Cleveland's over here in their feelings, licking their wounds and pretending they're moving on, Shatter is out here, moving up. Rumors start swirling. And not the usual sources say he's unhappy kind of whispers. We're talking real buzz. Multiple teams allegedly circling. Insiders saying he's already been offered backup packages more lucrative than some starting roles. Because when you're Shatter Sanders, you don't just play the game, you make the game come to you. And the NFL? Oh, they're watching. Not just the teams. The league. The commissioner's office. Because this isn't just about one guy making headlines. This is about control. And if the league loses that, everything changes. Behind the scenes, owners start squirming. Execs are texting each other like gossiping teenagers. We need to keep this in-house. We can't let players think they can just walk. But it's too late. The genie is out. The blueprint is public. And Shatter didn't just burn a bridge. He built a tunnel out. Now, let's talk about the tour. Because that's what it feels like. Shatter isn't just considering teams. He's doing it loudly. Paparazzi catching him courtside at NBA games in rival cities. Coaches pretending it's a coincidence they're in the same hotel lobby. Team social accounts dropping subtle winks, always watching. Eyes, okay, they used emojis. We won't. But here's the best part. Shatter says nothing. Again. And that silence? Oh, it's louder than any statement he could have made. Because by not talking, he's forcing everyone else to fill in the blanks. The fans, the media, the scouts, the YouTube analysts who upload 30-minute breakdowns titled, "Why Shatter Sanders is Destined for Dallas or Not." It's a content gold rush. And Dillon? still playing chess in the background, casually throwing gas on the fire. Every interview he gives is a riddle wrapped in swagger. My boy's gonna land where he's meant to shine. Ain't no one putting limits on a lion. You don't even know what he's talking about half the time, but somehow it makes you believe. Meanwhile, Cleveland tries to pivot. They draft a new quarterback, host a press conference. Stefanski says things like we're building a new chapter, and the locker room is focused. You can almost hear the desperation in his voice, like a man who knows he's trying to sell yesterday's news in a world that already moved on. But the media doesn't care. Not really. Because every single presser, every single training camp clip, every minor update gets hijacked by the same question. Have you heard where Shatter's going? He's haunting them. Spectrally. And you know what's wild? He hasn't even taken another snap. No team. No jersey. Just vibes and leverage. And somehow, his influence keeps growing. Kids are buying his college highlights on NFT sites. Brands are sliding into his DMs. He's getting invited to talk shows without a team. Who does that? Simple answer. Someone who understands the era they're living in. Because the NFL isn't just a sports league anymore. It's entertainment. It's branding. It's influence economy. And Shatter? He's playing that game better than most front offices ever will. The Browns thought they were drafting a quarterback. What they actually got was a disruptor. And now that he's out of their hands, they're realizing the full weight of what they lost. Not just a player, a moment, a movement. And the fan base? They're spiraling. The hopefuls are clinging to delusion. We'll be fine. He was never all that. The rest are slipping into a kind of exhausted resignation. Because how do you keep faith in a franchise that finally lands a superstar and still finds a way to screw it up? Spoiler, you don't. Meanwhile, Shatter's next move becomes the most anticipated event in sports without a single game being played. Insiders begin tracking plain tail numbers. Reddit detectives build entire threads based on who he followed on Instagram that week. It's not just drama, it's theater. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a realization starts to spread. This isn't just about Shatter anymore. It's about what he represents. He's not the first player to leave a team. He's not even the first player to do it loudly. But he is the first to do it with complete control. With no scandal. With no apology. And that is what's changing everything. You've got rookies watching him like a TED Talk. Agents using him in pitch decks. PR consultants rewriting their crisis playbooks around not talking too much. And execs trying to figure out how to keep their future stars happy before the next shatter-sized implosion happens on their turf. Because now they know it can happen. And it will happen again. So let's wrap this up with one more fake award, shall we? The Houdini Award for Most Graceful Disappearance. Shatter Sanders. For vanishing from a franchise mid-hype cycle and somehow making it the most talked about story of the season. No ugly scandal. No angry tweet storm. No screaming match on the sidelines. Just an empty locker, a wiped bio, and the entire NFL reeling. This is the new era, folks. Quarterbacks are no longer just players. They're brands, CEOs, disruptors. And if franchises want to survive this shift, they're going to have to stop thinking like owners and start thinking like collaborators. Because Shatter didn't just leave Cleveland. He left a blueprint. And in doing so, he might have changed football forever. So what's next? Will he sign with a big market team and instantly become the face of a franchise? Will he go full rogue and delay a signing just to keep the media in a chokehold? Or will he go beyond football, build a personal empire, and let the league come to him? Honestly, at this point, anything is possible. Because the old playbook is gone. The rules are being rewritten. And the guy holding the pen? Yeah, it's Shatter Sanders. Be sure to drop your theories in the comments. Who do you think he's going to sign with? What team deserves this level of drama and brilliance? And most importantly, do you think the Browns will ever recover from this? Like, subscribe and stay tuned, because in the NFL soap opera of 2025, the quarterback isn't just a player. He's the producer. And this season, the drama is undefeated.